My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams. All at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
Hello and welcome to this. It is the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. I'm JB here in the Rugby Dungeon with Phil. Hello, Phil.
Hello, JB. How are you?
I feel very hoarse all of a sudden.
It's been a heavy weekend.
It has been a heavy weekend. I mean, I've drank a little bit. I mean, I doubt I've drank half as much as Tim Cocker this week.
In the wine regions.
Goodness me. What a year that this boy has had. He put on 10 kilograms in France eating pâté, attending World Cup finals. He's, got hammered on wine? No. Stacked on red meat only a month ago in South Africa, and this time it's his wine tour.
So, how are you, Tim Cocker from Cape Town?
I'm fresh from Stellenbosch.
Oh,
the wine tour, yeah?
Fantastic.
And when you say fresh, you mean not fresh at all?
I'm as fresh as can be possibly expected from Stellenbosch. I am hoarse from last night myself, JB.
Oh. What happened last night, or is that?
Well, the last thing as I left the place in Cape Town called the Village Idiot, which was very festive, as they say here. TJ Perinara and Adi Savia were arriving as I was leaving.
Oh,
wow.
Bad timing.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. No, I'd had enough at that point. They were just getting started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think those are two boys that need to drown their sorrows after a second consecutive defeat.
Quite.
Well, a fourth consecutive defeat.
Is that right?
So fourth consecutive defeat to
South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah.
And the last time South Africa, or I'm possibly by default anyone, but definitely New Zealand. The last time South Africa beat New Zealand 4 times in a row.
I did see that. It was something like the 1930s, I think. Is that
yeah, it was. I think it was mid 1940s. Oh, it might. They won 6 in a row. The last of which was 1949.
Wow.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago. And I simply refuse to believe that any other team has beaten. Maybe there was a period that Australia did it.
Yeah, I think it probably was Australia early 2000s.
I just can't see 6 in a row. I can't see any team other than South Africa
or
doing
4
6
in a row. Even.
Or even 4 in a row.
I don't know. I think once you've got a team's number, it's very difficult to get out that rut. And a team is settled and as massive as South Africa. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm sure New Zealand, if they played again tomorrow, would have a good 40%, 45% chance of winning. But once someone's got your number, it is difficult.
Yeah, but I can't see any other team.
Oh, any other team doing it?
Yeah, other than South Africa. Throughout history.
This incarnation of the All Blacks.
No, any incarnation of the All Blacks and any other team throughout history beating them more than 6 times in a row.
It'd be tricky.
Maybe Australia, but I find that hard to believe.
No, I'm just looking down the list and Australia. No, 3. 3. No. It's coming up to the present day. 2 in a row. 1, 2, 3 in a row. No.
Yeah.
No Australian team 3 in a row. 1. No Australian teams ever won 4 in a row. So basically, I think again, we don't know, but I think I'm right in saying that no other team has ever beaten New Zealand 4 times in a row.
goodness.
Yeah, that would not surprise me one bit.
So what is the mood in South Africa now? Is it kind of a little bit downbeat because presumably they've completed rugby now and they're going to have to find other things to do?
Well, actually, I think obviously, yeah, people are very happy, and I think that one of the sentiments is, and well, this would be one that I would push. This is the best South Africa have ever been.
It's hard to say anything else, isn't it? Really,
it's hard to say anything else. But nevertheless, I think there are some people slightly, well, it's not frustrated or upset or unhappy or disappointed. That's not the word, but maybe not convinced by the way South Africa are playing, because they are just counter-attacking everything and just barely ever kicking. And I think this is part of a bigger plan, but it is quite interesting to see because they're moving away from what has traditionally been their strength, and as a result, they're making quite a lot of errors.
Yeah, well, it's 20 minutes in that South Africa-New Zealand match. The second quarter, if you like, minutes 20 to 40, where I thought both teams were just horrendous. Like, really, really poor. I mean, they're making lots of errors, lots of spilt balls. I thought,
poor.
Not good enough.
This is one of those things, I don't know, poor, because is this one where you credit great defences?
No, because they're both at it. They were just throwing... They didn't seem to want to get into their shape. They were just, I don't know, they both seemed like they were rushed, and I mean, there obviously is defensive pressure involved, but I've seen South Africa play, and I could just see that there were other ways to do this than the way that they were doing it.
Well, yeah, one thing I would say, so I clearly, because it's 2 weeks in a row now, and there's more evidence in recent weeks, South Africa have been told to go out and just run everything and attack everything.
Why do teams do this?
Well, so... I think, well, let's work back from the 2027 World Cup, fast tracks. World Rugby are intent on changing laws to have this, and also South Africa's personnel. When you look at guys like our Lord and Saviour, Sasha FM, my favourite radio station, then I think it leans into it. But I think actually. Sorry, I'm just not finishing a point. I'll start with this one. I think they've been told to go and do it, almost even if it risks them losing matches, because they will not play like this in a Rugby World Cup. There's not a chance. And one thing we've talked about a lot is and the nuances and the brilliance and the importance of kicking in rugby. And what you see from South Africa is exactly what we're talking about, because when a team is never going to kick, then New Zealand could just stack 14 men in the defensive line and fly up off the line, which is what they did. And consequently, when South Africa were forcing things and offloads, there was a load of balls going to deck. If they varied it a bit more and kicked a bit more, then I think they'd have more success.
I completely agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think you said last week, which really sort of ruffled my feathers a bit. Not that you said it, but just the thought subsequently, which is South Africa are trying to open up their game and play something. I mean, look, you just won the World Cup for the second time. Yeah, for the second time.
Second time in a row.
In a row, yeah. Like, you don't need to change anything. You're the best team in the world. Why are you going down this road of, oh, well, we're going to open it up? Why? You've got the winning formula. Now, I understand that there's a element of future-proofing, and you're looking at your talent, you're thinking, okay, well, we've got these boys who can play a certain way, and in the future they'll be the main men. Wait for them to become the main men and change it then. Same with the laws. I mean, we kind of have this in professional services where people go, oh, well, what if the laws change? Deal with them then. Like, you can't deal with laws that don't exist now. Like, just wait and see what happens. And if the laws change how you play. But right at this present moment in time, the best way for South Africa to play is exactly the way that won them 2 World Cups. I mean, it just has to be.
It probably is, but I think it's the future-proofing, not even necessarily on the laws. It's part of the talent coming in and part of the talent dropping out.
I agree with you, right? But have you ever seen a team future-proof by going the other way? So it's like, look, all of our talent is going to be massive in a few years' time. Let's future-proof by running less and kicking more. A successful team they just wouldn't do that. They'd carry on expanding their game. And I think it's this drug of wanting to always play better, more expansive, more expressive rugby. Like, just stop. Right? You know what you're doing. It works. Carry on. Make that 5% better. Make what you've already got 5% better. When you've done that, make it even better again.
I think the worry is when Ep68 and Peter Steftotoy and Khaleesi and Bongi Mbonambi and
Malherbe.
Franz Malherbe, and Malcolm Marks, and Vincent Cox.
Vince McMahon.
And all those guys disappear. Vince McMahon disappear from the team. They might be 5% worse because they've got superb guys to come in behind most of those, but they've not got superb guys who have got 100+ caps like almost all of those have, because all of those have.
Yeah. Sorry.
But I never
If I can add to that.
Go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Jay. You make your point, and I'll move it on somewhere different.
Yeah, I never thought they would move on, really, from Bucky's Botha and Victor Matfield. Like generally, they were the best second row pairing the world has ever seen at that time. I was like, no, can't get any better than this. Whatever happens next is going to be rubbish. Like, don't worry about what happens next. Just play with what you've got.
The problem is, in 2015, they were still playing. I don't think Backy's played, but Matfield did play, didn't he?
Yes.
And it was too long, too late, failed to move on. So maybe they're trying to correct the mistakes from that era.
Yeah.
Possibly. I think a couple of things. You could pick right now, without any trouble, 3 South Africa 15s, and they'd all be really good.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Here's one thing, though, with that as the context, and when you look back at the 4 different South Africa teams that have won Rugby World Cups, this is a country, you could count the number of really good fly halves on one hand. Why is that?
This isn't the same with every country, though.
No.
Go on, then.
No.
So
There's 3 really good fly halves that are English that are still playing right now. Owen Farrell, George Ford, Marcus Smith. But
and maybe Finn Smith could be the best of them.
I mean, he's on the way. He'll be decent. But there's 3 Englishmen right now that are playing. You could name tons of players in that fly half position for other countries. South Africa. Okay. Name me a great South African fly half.
Pollard is probably the best one.
Pollard's very
Pollard.
good.
Pollard. Other than Pollard,
I feel you put me on the spot. But if I really thought about it, I'd be.
I'll tell you the ones that have won World Cup.
Mornay
Stransky won a World Cup.
Yeah.
He was all right.
Mornay Steyn. Did Butch James start in the World Cup final in 2000?
Butch James won the 07 World Cup. Started that. Yeah.
By the way, there is a bit of a pattern here with these fly halves.
yeah.
Exactly.
It's a very South African fly half rule that we're just describing there.
Exactly. It's kind of a blunt instrument. And now, by the way, I'm not saying I think they're right to be playing this Tony Brown ball, all action, all court. I think they should. I think they should have a bit more balance. But I think with, the potential is, and look, Rassie Erasmus has done all right. I think he might know where he's going with this. I think he might have rightly identified that they've got the personnel, a guy like Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu, but Pollard can also play this game. But also, they're going to need to move their game on.
Yeah, best South African star fly half, Owen Farrell.
He would be, if he was South African, he would be so.
He is the quintessential South African fly half.
And you
which is kind of ironic because they hate him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know. What's the saying about hating the ones that you love or something?
Although narcissism or small differences as well.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm just thinking back because like New Zealand at the moment have got obviously Mackenzie, Bowden Barrett, and what's the boy Richie Mo'unga, who are, I think they're all 3 of them superb, and it kind of plays back to the mid-late 2000s, early 2010s, where they had. Obviously Dan Carter for a long period of time being
Cruden,
number 1,
Slade.
But even before those boys, because those boys are slightly younger than Carter, but like Andrew Mertens and Carlos Spencer, 2 extraordinarily talented individuals who couldn't get in because of Carter. They both moved to the Premiership because Carter, Quins and Northampton.
Yeah,
simply because Dan Carter was too good, and they would have started for just about any other country at that time.
It's difficult, isn't it?
But those 2, Mertens and Spencer, have never won a World Cup.
No, they haven't, have they?
Nope.
Unlike the Beaver, who did.
The Beaver did, yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, maybe there's something to be said about South African fly halves. Maybe everyone else has got it wrong, because if there's this proliferation of amazing fly halves that haven't won World Cups, what was the point?
Well, maybe it's back to the style of play. Like New Zealand wouldn't be what they are without an exquisite fly half, or even 3 of them too many to even get on the pitch at one time.
Let
Whereas
me-
South Africa play a game that the fly half is just less important. Partly because they do a
Kick
bit more
to
from
kick
9,
to touch, kick territory, kick goals.
All right.
or knock on, give the opposition a scrum. You win a scrum penalty, 3 points or kick for the corner.
Okay, so let me think of some fly halves, right? I'll just throw them out there. And you tell me if they would make a good South African fly half.
Go on.
Okay, so I'll start with Stephen Myler.
Yes, great South African fly half.
I think he'd have a few South African caps. More than a few, actually.
He probably wouldn't, just because
He'd be a commentator on Super Sport now.
there's no need. But yes, he could. If he's exactly the mould that they would love.
David Skrella.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me give you another one.
Yeah.
Kelly Hayamona.
Perfect.
Ludovic Mercier.
Yes, that's a very good one. That's a very good one.
Who was the other Frenchman who had an enormous boot? Played fly half. I want to say played for Stade for a bit.
Lionel Boxis.
Boxis.
He's a bit squatter.
He's maybe a bit too much flair.
I like him to be
ridiculousness.
slightly bigger, sort of like. I'm trying to think. Is there one more?
Yannick Jojon would have got a few caps at fly half for South Africa.
Yes, I was going to say the one I was going not Janet Joe's on. The one I was going to say is the guy who looks like a bodybuilder who played 15 for France, who I think was South African.
Scott Spedding.
Scott Spedding would be
he was
great,
South African.
a great South African fly half. So I'm all for it. I think that's actually probably a better way to go. So anyway, do you want to talk about the actual game? Because we haven't said anything about the game.
Yeah, we haven't.
I assume you're at the game. That's why you were there, is it? Or have I got it wrong?
I was at the game, and first time in Cape Town, and what a place, eh?
It's
great, isn't it?
It's an amazing city. Amazing.
It's an amazing city. Just a sea on one side, mountains on the other, views everywhere you look, which only get just as spectacular when you head inland. It's just an unreal part of the world. And I will say, so when you're up in Johannesburg, as I was last weekend, they hit the brandy and Coke hard from about 11 a.m.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Cape Town, it's much more kind of civilized. Let's have a glass of wine or a light beer. We'll just have a few. So as a result, the atmosphere is completely different. They were silent for the haka. They were just having it's sort of like positive, happy vibes, as you would imagine if you live with the ocean on one side, the mountains on the other, and blue sky above.
Did you go to Llandudno?
I did go to London. No,
Did you?
Very different from. Apparently, someone told me it's a nude beach.
It wasn't when I was there.
No, but I've played touch rugby on Camps Bay with Camps Bay Rugby Club. That was fun. My God, running on sand is humbling.
Yes, it is.
It's hard work, isn't it?
Yes.
I was getting just rinsed by lads. I was sort of thinking, yeah, I'll be all right. It's so different. And to be fair to them, they said it takes about 3 months to condition yourself running on sand. But man, I was absolutely battered.
Well, at least you got an excuse to stay out there for 3 months longer.
True. Good point.
Yeah.
Anyway, I haven't actually said the game. So yeah, all the build up for the match. I don't normally care for kids performing on the pitch and all that jazz. The pre-game was absolutely brilliant, and I just thought it was awesome. And this is going to sound really corny, and JB, you will cringe when I say it, but this is the kind of whole day really brought home you're going to hate me for saying this, the kind of nation building that South Africa has been doing. It's the 30th anniversary of democracy in South Africa here, Mandela and all of that. And I felt that in Cape Town more than anywhere. And to the extent that there were some All Black fans, but any talk of the Cape Crusaders in any significant number, not a chance. This is a country that, bearing in mind, the Springbok, that emblem on the jersey was like, not quite the same, but so don't take me literally here, but it had the similar symbolism to it, like a swastika, like it was just white and...
It was an apartheid symbol, wasn't it?
Apartheid symbol. That's a much better, just simple way of saying it, because I don't want to get confused with that. That's not what I meant. But for it to represent what it now represents is actually pretty remarkable.
Yeah. I think South Africa, much like America, if anyone needs a symbol to build a nation around, because it's such mixed cultures, it is South Africa. So I've got no real problem with that. even if just from a practical standpoint.
Mm.
And then I've already talked about South Africa's style of play. I think, I don't know, so flip it over to New Zealand. They could, and they might sit back and argue, should have won at least one game.
Well, they missed, Mackenzie in the second half missed 3 penalties, didn't he? So they left 9 points out there. The winning margin was 6.
And Malcolm Marks' try came immediately after one of those misses.
Yes.
So it was like an 8-point swing on its own.
Yeah.
I just don't really know at the moment what New Zealand are trying to be. So are they trying to be the Crusaders? I mean, there's nothing. They're a very good, well-rounded team, but they don't have any particular identity yet. And I think that's a bit of a problem. Whereas you look at South Africa, you know exactly what they're trying to do. So I think, although there's not going to be that many more opportunities now, and I don't think that Scott Robinson is going to have that much more of a honeymoon. We're going to need to see what he's trying to do, because it's just not clear.
So I agree, it's not clear. They've got immense amount of talent. Then they certainly in this game didn't play particularly well. They didn't score a try, which is very unlike New Zealand, and they were pretty poor at times. You mentioned it before, JB, in the handling stakes, turning over multiple balls, and they do miss a bit of steel through the middle of that pack, the steel that Retallick and Whitelock would have given them. And Scott Barrett's very talented. Tupu Vati is very talented, but they're not quite those boys yet. They're not quite as big or as strong or as formidable.
You know, what do you think about Will Jordan at fullback?
Solid but uninspiring.
Yeah. Didn't have his best game, but he's only just back from a long injury. On the flip side, you've already mentioned Tupu Vai and Wallace Satiti. I thought was really good. The front row was awesome. Really good. Yeah, the front row were brilliant.
New Zealand's?
Yeah, Cody Taylor was man of the match for me.
I thought Cody Taylor was awesome.
Who says a great player? Now, I'm just trying to re-remember what I watched, because I didn't think that their scrum was awesome. Have I misremembered that?
They lost the first scrum, and then they got a scrum penalty in the first one, but then they didn't lose another scrum pen after that.
Yeah, the scrum was solid.
Terrell Lomax around the park is awesome.
Cody Taylor on the park was,
and Cody Taylor is amazing.
Was brilliant.
He was brilliant.
But it's not that. So New Zealand teams can always do that, and Scott Barrett and Tupu Vati around the park again, superb. But that's not where the game's won and lost against South Africa, is it? Even this incarnation of South Africa, who exactly as you said, they'll try and run more, they'll try and counter-attack more, they'll try and kick less. That's not where the game is. The game is won in the tight five, and again we had the pushover try, or the Malcolm Marks try late on because of a dominant line out and driving maul. Admittedly, again after a yellow card, and I thought the yellow card was pretty harsh this time. I thought the yellow card last week was pretty harsh, particularly because...
Which one of them? Because there was 4.
Sorry, the yellow card that was most consequential to the South Africa win, the Tyrrell Lomax with Chesley and Colby running into him, and he kind of leaned and exhaled to one side as Colby ran straight into him. was my view of this situation, which if you're a South African you would disagree with.
I spent a fair bit of time with the referees this week. What a lovely bunch, by the way.
I think they're generally, every referee that we've spoken to has been a pretty good lad.
So good. They didn't come out last night though for on the beers. We kept them a spot at the Village Idiot. Got them on the guest list and everything. They didn't show up.
Oh, they let you down. Probably had a better invite. Probably partying with Razzie Erasmus.
Exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, what a party that'd be. Oh my word, can you imagine? What was I going to say? New Zealand. Oh, I can't
struggling
remember.
there, are we, mate?
It's been a long couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I would add is it's just more of the same from South Africa. they can try and do this running from everywhere, but what made the difference? The subs, the absolutely massive subs.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's it. When was the last time you can remember? Thank you. That was reminding me what I was going to say. When is the last time you can remember a coach who left 3 unused replacements at this level of rugby?
England did an entire game without using a single replacement about a decade ago.
Did they?
Yeah.
Who's
Wow.
that? Can't have been Lancaster.
Oh God, no! Must have been before Lancaster. But I'm sure maybe
Johnson before him.
Andy Robinson,
It
seems like the
was
sort of thing he might have done.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but they basically didn't use any replacements, or very, very few.
Wow.
But in the last decade at this level,
Oh,
3 unused replacements. So that just says to me, and last week and this week, either Scott Robertson is not. Well, no, I think the fundamental thing is he just does not trust his backup.
yeah. That'll be the problem, and that is a big problem.
Yeah, do you know? I think it's really poor coaching. I think it's really poor coaching. The reason it's poor coaching is I do not believe for a second you start your best 15 at this level. I'm not even sure you start your best 15 at any level. I think you finish your best 15. So if you're saying that you don't trust 3 of your replacements, you've got it wrong. I mean, if you really, I'd say actually you just probably go and start them. If you're that concerned, you start them, because what you want is a 15 at the end where you're going to put on the most pressure, score the most points. So yeah, that's just poor selection. If you're not using all of your bench now in these times, I just think I've got no time for that. You've got to have a spectacular reason not to do so.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
So yeah, that's who are the unused subs? Out of interest.
The front row, basically.
Oh really?
I think Tunga Fassi came on, so it must have been.
Armua
it was
and Fletcher.
Armua who came on as a blood replacement or a head HIA replacement for a short while.
It was a head injury.
So, but the Fletcher Newell didn't make it on, and 73 minutes when Tyrell Lomax went off. So I don't think Fletcher Newell was going to get on, and Sam Darry I think was the other one.
Yeah, so the only time, I mean, I guess in your front 5 it's slightly more forgivable because you don't want to lose those confrontations, but just start them. You can always bring them off.
Yeah, we did see this last week when, and I mentioned it, there was the yellow card and also the switch up of the props, and both those two things conspired to turn around. Were New Zealand winning by 7 points or 10 points with 15 minutes left on the clock? So he's trying to fix the problem from last week by doing the same thing this week, and it didn't solve the problem.
Yeah. Just on front rows, it's a much easier question to answer when you remember front row replacements not being used. So actually, there's a whole host of them that I can think of. Tom Dunn for England came on for 1 minute. Basically, anyone you can think of that the RFU forced.
Dan Robson, he was another one of them.
Anyone that the RFU forced Eddie Jones to pick, literally just never got on the field. Wasn't there one recently who didn't get on until very, very late for Steve Borthwick?
Oh, I think Steve Borthwick has a few times not brought people on. Players have not played a minute. 1 or 2, not many.
If you want to talk about props, loose head props I have in my mind who played 4 games. One would be, just off the top of my head, what's his name? Manchester Pusher.
Manchester Pusher?
Yeah, what's his name? Ross
Harrison.
Ross Harrison.
But not for England.
Not for England, but Sale.
For Sale, yeah.
Mako Vunipola, I think, for both England and also for Saracens, has done 80.
Probably.
I can't think of a tight head off the top of my head.
I'm sure tight heads they're very frequently changed.
Yeah, so the handful there.
So one of the things, not specifically to do with this game, but more about it's kind of a consequence of the last 4 games for New Zealand, and they've won 1 in the last 4 with 2 losses to South Africa and 1 to Argentina. Has the shift away from from South Africa away from the New Zealand Australia Super Rugby has it led and will it lead to ultimately a weakening of the New Zealand team? Because New Zealand by design, all of their international players have to play in New Zealand. You can do little 6-month stints like Ardy Surveyor or Dan Carter or Bowden Barrett, mainly in Japan these days, but not in a competitive league. And when they were playing against the South African teams, when they were playing against the good versions of the Bulls and the Stormers and the Sharks from many years ago, that was fine because you were getting 16 weeks of really competitive rugby. And back in those days, back in the early 2000s, early teens, the Australian teams were pretty competitive as well. The Brumbies and the Reds and the Waratahs all had stints of being top teams. Now they're playing 16 weeks of top club level rugby, and they have probably 2 tough games a season plus a final.
Yeah, there's a few things I want to say. And again,
So, a few things you want to say after dropping your microphone.
There you go. Again, I might be misremembering here, but the early days of Super Rugby were truly good. Really, really good, because everyone took it seriously, and that's the way it will.
And Australia were very good at that time.
Yeah. So, they were absolutely awesome.
Eddie Jones with
The Brumbies.
the Brumbies and then Australia in the early 2000s.
However, as Super Rugby expanded, the South Africans were not very good for 2 reasons. One, they couldn't afford to keep the players, so they all disappeared. And number 2, the competition was just too big, too unwieldy. A lot of South African teams go over there and just get absolutely hammered because they were playing kids. So the South African teams they have now, the good versions of the good South African teams, are turning into some of the most fearsome club teams on the planet, in my mind.
We will just say on paper, because the Sharks last year had probably the best pack on the planet and finished 4th from bottom in the URC.
Yeah, I mean this is a really good point actually, and this is kind of what was happening in Super Rugby, which was when they went over to New Zealand, they just played kids. And you can see now with the Bulls, when they come over and play serious games against, for instance, Northampton, they played the kids. So actually, the only thing stopping Bulls and the Sharks and whoever else are the Bulls and the Sharks. But should they take it seriously, they've got some of the best, I think, best club teams now. Well, potentially on the planet, but I don't think that would have happened had they have stayed in Super Rugby.
Yeah, I think your point's
I agree with
right.
that.
Well, both of you are right. Your point's right, Phil, that it has negatively affected New Zealand and Australia, but obviously they've got other issues that they've got to worry about anyway. But conversely, it has strengthened South Africa because they have got one foot in the Northern Hemisphere and they still play Rugby Championship. So they're getting regular games against New Zealand. So they've kind of got best of both worlds. And
they've absolutely got best of both worlds because their selectors, I mean, I don't know if it's by design or it's forced on them, but they're not narcissistic idiots. So, you look at the way the English treat their players. Oh, you can't go overseas. You look at how the Welsh force people to play in bloody Newport for reasons. Like, why? Whereas South Africans like, yeah, you can come back home and the money's good, and if they come home, great. But also, sometimes you look at these South African teams and they've got experience all over the globe at the absolute top end. You think, yeah, that's why they've won, because they're absolutely brilliant. And a lot of these guys have played overseas and then come back, and it's not interfered with their international career. So you've got all this cross pollination of brilliant rugby by great rugby players anyway. And then you look at Australia, who are just bleeding players left, right, and centre, and they're too arrogant to bring the guys back.
Do you see Mark Nwanganitawase scored a try for the Roosters on debut?
Did he really?
And in other news, have you seen, speaking of New Zealand players, who's leaving and where he's going?
I do not know, and I do not know.
We already know about Geordie Barrett.
D-Mac.
Is he?
Oh, he's going somewhere in France, isn't he?
To La Rochelle.
Wow. Ooh, he'd fit in nicely there.
That will be. I mean, part of me thinks that La Rochelle should just get Andre Pollard.
Hang on, what's going to happen to our story?
Yeah. Well, D-Mac might be there to play 15. You never know.
I can't imagine he would. I mean, you don't spend that sort of money and put him at fullback.
Yeah,
cool, eh? Our top 14 started this weekend, by the way.
It did. And
my beloved Bordeaux hammered Stade Francais.
Yes.
My beloved Bayonne were are off to a winning start as well.
And my inverse fanship of Racing is off to a great start.
Oh, have you seen what happened?
I know they lost.
So they were 12 points down with 10 minutes left on the clock. They scored a try, Henry Chauvency, converted by Farrell. They scored another try, so that was in the 72nd minute. They scored another try in the 78th minute, converted by Owen Farrell, to take them 2 points ahead in what should have been the winning play of the match. And they conceded, I've not seen the highlights, but they conceded on the 80th minute to lose by 3 points. Against Cast. Away to Cast.
Oh, well, happens, doesn't it? Devastated one.
Well, I guess if you're going to have £750,000 playing in South Africa when you're starting the league tied up, that you can't then spread amongst other players,
so
it's going to cost you.
Yeah, the most exciting part about Khaleesi leaving, he's now officially left, I do believe, is what will they do with that money, that delicious money?
It's a lot of money. Has he?
He's gone.
Official.
Are you sure?
Yeah, yesterday I believe that was announced.
When he was playing
in South Africa, yeah. He's likely to go to Sharks, but they've let him off his deal last 2 years. Say let him off.
2 hours ago, 58 minutes ago.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah.
Wow, you knew before the rest of the world.
So yeah, you might have found out yesterday.
Maybe. I was with a guy.
Name your source. No, it's fine.
I was with a guy yesterday who was actually coached by Stuart Lancaster. He said he's an incredibly nice guy, very intelligent bloke, but sometimes he'd break down things for 2 hours and everyone's like, should we just go and train?
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me much either.
A Racing statement released on Sunday, so yeah, not yesterday, reads, Sia Khaleesi and Racing 92 announced they have mutually agreed to terminate the contract that linked the South African Third Road to the Sky and White Club until 2026. Both parties thank each other for sporting moments spent together under the sky. I assume this is a bad Google Translate. Under the sky, under the Sky and White jersey, and wish each other much success in the rest of their sporting careers.
I was going to say, who wrote that? Gwyneth Paltrow.
So this is from Rugby Pass, but this is presumably just a literal Google translation of the French transcript.
Conscious uncoupling from their sporting moment.
There you go.
The Sky and Whites.
So it is done. So that, I mean, they still do have a circa 700,000-800,000 pound hole in their squad, but they might be able to fill it.
Now, I don't know who to give credit to for this. Do I give credit to Lancaster? It sounds like Jackie Lorenzetti. Lorenzetti deserves the credit for this more than anything else. But it was 100% the right thing to do. It was the wrong thing to sign him in the first place.
And Khaleesi had a great game yesterday.
He's a great player.
Scored a very good try. Great game. And it's not, for me, it's nothing to do with how good he is. It's how much he cost. Because you could probably have both Currys and a Willis for that kind of money.
Do you know, I just wish
just the talent that you could get for that kind of money is insane.
Some players are just blessed, aren't they? They're just blessed with luck to be like Sam Warburton or Khaleesi. It does not matter what you do in your club career. It's just no one cares. You're going to be the national captain. You're going to be revered. It doesn't matter if you never achieve a single thing in your life club-wise. You'll always be a national hero. I wish I could be that guy. Like, that is such a great job, isn't it? Sam Warburton, I mean, an amazing player. We all agree on that, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
One of the worst club players.
Yeah.
One of the worst club players in history.
Never played.
Khaleesi, never. Like, how do these guys scale to the top when they never play club? It's beyond me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we touched. I tried to move us on towards the Australia team by kind of maybe making the excuse of Australia being terrible and New Zealand's cart being firmly fixed to the Australian horse, entirely fixed to the Australian horse at club and international level. Therefore, New Zealand are going to get worse. Australia. Did either of you get to watch that game?
No, I didn't. And then when I saw the scoreline, I thought, I'm not going to catch up with this. I mean, I've watched the highlights. The only thing I would say is on the extended highlights, an area that Australia will be absolutely devastated with. It's just how rubbish their close-in defence is. Like, when you're defending close to your try line, this is one of the prime opportunities for you to really show your mettle. Like, it's some of the most fun times you're going to have in rugby because you don't have those big open spaces. You're not going to be embarrassed by someone dancing around you. It's just man-on-man collisions, and they don't have it in them. I mean, they're absolute cowards when it comes to that close combat stuff. They just don't get it. Like, they're great with the ball, in hand. You know, they're pretty good defending in the open. They're pretty good, in most things. But when it came down to it, and the Argentines started, I mean, I say they beat them up. They didn't beat them up. There's nothing to beat up. Like, there was just nothing there.
So I watched this game. I'll say a few things. One, Santa Fe looked great fun. So it looked like it's a packed stadium. The stadium looked fantastic on a beautiful blue sky, sunny day. That looked absolutely awesome. Australia started this game fantastically. They went 2 tries up. They went 20 points to 3 up after 25 minutes. And you think they're gonna run away. Yeah, they're gonna run away. They won narrowly last week in dreadful conditions. They played some lovely rugby, scored 2 nice tries, and then Argentina started coming back. And Argentina did a couple of things. They won the kicking battle and the kick return battle, very importantly, because Argentina's back 3 were awesome. But some of their collisions up front when they got into the red zone, they were totally dominant. And exactly as you say, Australia were very, very weak repeatedly. And they got their offloading game going. And their boys, their back row, so Matera was superb, Crema Gonzalez, Saracens Gonzalez was awesome. And then they brought off Oviedo, who just ran absolute riot. Number 20 came on, played in the back row, and was just awesome. And they just completely blitzed them in that second half. It was total dominance right throughout that second half. It was a superb performance by Argentina. Maybe it's one of those, like we said, sometimes, Tim, you said you can measure the millilitres of tears at the national anthem, and that's the measure of whether they're going to do well. Well, it was Montoya's 100th cap, their captain's 100th cap. So obviously the tears were flowing. It was a special day, and they absolutely did a number on Australia.
Yeah, it was good to see. I mean, it's good to see for Argentina. Don't know what to do about Australia, though. I mean, I just don't have any idea, really.
They've got to bring some boys back, but there's only so many boys they can bring back. Will Skelton immediately makes that team better. That's one thing they can do. Other than that, and he doesn't make them better enough. But other than that, I don't really know. And when you've got the Lions tour next year, it's
going to be the worst Lions tour of all time.
End of this season. So
why don't they send the Lions kids in anticipation for the New Zealand tour?
So no, if you're going to have a Lions women's tour,
yeah, that'd be the one against the Australian men's team.
make it this one.
Yeah, spread the love. Talking about the women, have you heard the latest absolute ridiculous initiative from the RFU? One of the most ridiculous. I mean, I guarantee. I know. It is the most investable opportunity in sports history.
It is. It certainly is that.
Have you heard this, Tim?
Is Tim even there still? Hello, Tim. Come in, Tim. You check that. I will check this.
Hey, it's Mark Marin from WTF, here to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. And I'm sure the reason you're listening to this podcast right now is because you chose it. Well, choose Progressive's Name Your Price tool, and you could find insurance options that fit your budget, so you can pick the best one for your situation. Who doesn't like choice? Try it at Progressive.com. And now, some legal info. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
If there's one thing that my family and friends know me for, it's being an amazing gift giver. I owe it all to Celebrations Passport from 1-800-Flowers.com, my one-stop shopping site that has amazing gifts for every occasion. With Celebrations Passport, I get free shipping on thousands of amazing gifts, And the more gifts I give, the more perks and rewards I earn. To learn more and take your gift giving to the next level, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.
Can I really do this? It's what everyone asks at every new stage of life. Sandy Spring Bank has you covered with personalized solutions to buy a house or improve the one you've got, or to grow your business, because that helps our community grow. We'll show you how to save more for the future, wherever it brings you. What's your next financial destination? Sandy Spring Bank. Visit sandyspringbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 406382.